at a vintage position akaweka KDF Special Force sniper wa KDF Special Force. Alikuwa na kazi moja tu. Jamaa kwa na kazi mingi. Moja tu. Atafuta sniper mwenzake wa hiyo opposite side. Na ule sniper wa kigaidi. Kazi yake ni hiyo. Find him, take him out. Hello. Are you ready there? Muko tayari? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kenyan Historian. My name is Enoch Sikolia. Now, on the 2nd of April 2015, 4 armed gunmen trained to kill and ready to die attacked Garissa University College at the break of dawn, killing 148 people, a majority of them young university students. Over 700 students were taken hostage.
The planners and financiers of this brutality are deeply embedded in our communities.
This is a story of the attack and how Kenyan Special Forces managed to end the siege. Now, before we get into what really happened on the 2nd of April 2015, let me give you a little bit of a backgrounder to that institution. Garissa University College was the first institution of that magnitude to ever be established in the northeastern region. Before the establishment of Garissa University College, previous governments, tukisema serikali zilizopita, treated that area as the British colonizers did. That area had been marginalized. So the establishment of Garissa University College had brought a lot of light and development in Garissa town and the neighboring areas, when we are talking about Fafi and the others in Dadaab. And it had attracted students from all over Kenya, coming from diverse backgrounds, diverse religion and cultural backgrounds. Let me say it was a university that brought together quite a number of Kenyans, and this was like a boom to Garissa town and the people of Garissa and northeastern Kenya. Now, to ensure the security of the institution, Garissa University College had done what most institutions zilikuwa zimefanya. They hired a private security firm to beef up security around the institution. So they had civilian guards manning entries to the university, which was one, I'm sure of, the gate. And so they provided security to the institution. But at that time, we were living in extraordinary days. Remember, Al-Shabaab had launched several attacks in Kenya. And so institutions were beefing up security. And there were intelligence reports, kulikuwa na ujasusi, kwamba an institution of higher learning was on the radar of the Al-Shabaab terror group. And so the National Police Service assigned 4 administration police officers to beef up security and help the civilian guards to ensure security in the institution. So on the 2nd of April 2015, kama kawaida, wanafunzi wa Garissa University College waliamuka kwenda studying in the morning. And you remember at that particular time, the semester was coming to an end. April, the semester was coming to an end, and so a majority of them waliamuka asubuhi mapema sana, wengine wanasema ngware, kwenda classes. kustadi kidogo. At that particular time wanaangalia exam, so a majority of them, a good number of students walikuwa maamuka tu ile kwenda kuchop. Alafu that particular time, if you remember, the 2nd of April 2015, it was just on the eve of Good Friday. The attack happened on Thursday. So ilikuwa Thursday. So hawa wanafunzi kulikuwa na Christian Union members. They woke up very early, went for morning devotion. Remember, Good Friday is a very important calendar, or a very important occasion in the Christian calendar, or a Christianity calendar. So at that particular time waliamuka for devotion, so walikuwa in the prayers in one of the classrooms. Now in the middle of that silence and tunasema calmness, ndege zikifanya chui 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 chui, Christian Union wakiimba, and then Muslims wakiomba. They were doing what you call Fajr Salam, walikuwa wanaomba asubuhi. Little did they know that 4 men armed to the core, ready to kill and ready to die, were hovering around, waiting for the time to pounce. Even the security guards, never used to a situation like that, just there at the gates, waiting for the dawn and probably go home for another shift to come in. But it was at that particular time, 5:30 a.m. The gunmen stormed the university. They began hapo kwa Soul Gate, hapo kwa gate ile tu, wakaanza pale pa pa pa. The guards were there. They were 3 in number, shot. So 2 died, 1 was seriously injured, 2 dead. Remember I talked about the National Police Service wakiwa wamepeleka kule 4 police officers to beef up security. So walikuwa patrol, wanachapa tu pale patrol kuhakikisha kwamba wale ndege vile wanaimba na hao watu wanafunzi wako sawa, security is good. Yani kuzurura tu kuangalia, kutembea mle ndani, just to patrol and ensure that everything is in order. They used to do that at dawn. So walisikia, the police officers walisikia gunshots, pa pa pa, wakajua this is not normal, because walikuwa hao tu ndio wako na bunduki pale kwa hiyo institution, and then all of a sudden there are gunshots. So what they did is take tactical positions. In security matters, tactical or tactics are very important, so they took tactical positions. So 3 of them. Then 1 advanced to the classroom to see the situation in the classroom and what was really happening. Hawa jamaa kwa gates wamemalizana na guards pale kwa mlango. So they headed to the classroom. Remember, the classroom was just like mita 150, like 150 meters from the gate. So they started heading to the classroom. Wakiwa wakielekea kule wakajipata klasi ya, wakaenda klasi ile ilikuwa ya Christian Union. Wale members of the Christian Union, they were praying. They opened fire at them, killing all the students who are praying, killing all of them. Pa 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 pa, dead. It was so sad. Then now there was, remember I told you about this 1 police officer who went to the classrooms. Bravely, he decided to start firing against the Al-Shabaab terrorists. Fired at them, but there were 2 terrorists who had, remember there were 4, so 1 pair is the one that had gone to the classroom. they fired at the police officers who had bravely attacked the terrorists. So they killed him. So at this particular point, we already have 3 people dead. So from the classrooms, the terrorists decided to go for the hostels. Remember, a majority of the students, or a good number of the students, were still in the hostels, still asleep. But they did not go silently. They went firing. Heavy gunshots, heavy gunfire. Pa, pa, pa. So wale ma students walikuwa bado in the hostels, wakajua hapa siku normal, wakasikia gunshots rendering the air from left, right, center. Unasikia pa, 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 pa. Wakajua hapa ndio kungori. Wakaamuka. It's 6 a.m. Kingora kikalia. Reke Squad Company inakuanga pale Ruiru, located the headquarters Kingora kikalia. Wakaambiwa kwamba there is a possible attack at Garissa University College. So wakaenda pale kila mtu kutafuta magwanda, vifaa, they assembled the equipment, they assembled everything. Wakakuwa ready. Like they geared up for the exercise. 6 a.m. wako ready. But what I can tell you is that, I will tell you later in the story, lakini walifika kule 7 hours later. 7 hours later, si kufika kutoka. Actually walitoka 7 hours later. Walikuwa tu standby. Remember, the attack is on. Wanafunzi wanauliwa na magaidi. Lakini the kikosi ambacho is so special or specialized in what you call hostage situation is still on standby. Now, nikikuambia kwamba specialized in hostage situation, let me explain to you. Reke Squad is trained in a technique called close quarter battle. This is a combat technique that is used in close, let me say, in small spaces, very little spaces, like urban cities and in hostage situations like buildings. So hii ndicho kikosi ambacho kiko specialized in it. But by 6 a.m. bado wako standby mode. Despite the fact that wameshajipanga, wako na kila kitu, kama ni magwanda wamevaa, kama ni marisasi ya kutosha wamebeba, kama ni vifaa vya kupambana na magaidi washachukua na wako standby. Wanangoja kipenga kipulizwe waondoke pale Ruiru waelekee. At that particular time also the KDF Special Forces wamekuwa standby. Wako tayari, kila mtu yuko tayari kuelekea kule. Unajua Reke Squad sasa ndio wale the Special Forces ndio kuna pale ma snipers. Tayari. And at that particular time still 6 a.m. sharp. Sasa news imeanza kutembea kwamba Garissa University is under attack. So wale ma AP wanakuanga pale Garissa, regular police and KDF. Wakaanza kujipanga sasa, wanaelekea at the institution. But they were aware that the exercise they are going, or the situation they are going to deal with was not ordinary. Walijua kwamba hapa, my friend, kwa sababu it's a hostage situation, a majority of the people now being assembled to go there. Imagine, hawana ujuzi wa kupambana in hostage situations or close quarter battles or combat. So wengi wao ni wale wa war, twende, combat, fire, destroy. But in a situation where you have hostages, hawana hiyo habari. Ama wako na ujuzi lakini uko limiting in terms of dealing with such a situation. But remember, Reke Squad, as I told you, bado wako kungoja mode. Na sasa terrorists nao pia walikuwa wanajua. wakaendelea, my friend. Wamepewa sasa ni muda wako nao, toying around. At that particular time, they are moving in hostels and actually ordering students out of the hostels. Between their order kulikuwa na gunfires heavy. So at the only time kulikuwa kuna nyamaza, yani pa 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 pa, wakinyamaza ni kuambia tokeni nyinyi, tokeni. So you see, at that particular time waka assemble students into two groups, or they gathered them into two groups. One group Muslim, another group Christians. Wakaachilia Muslims. So those who profess the Muslim faith wakaachiliwa, wakatoka. So hapo ndio nakurudisha nyuma pale nilikwambia kwamba wanajeshi, polisi wa utawala, or regular, not regular, polisi wa utawala, those are administration police officers. Alafu regular, yani polisi wa kawaida, walikuwa wanaelekea pale chuo kikuu cha Garissa. Lakini at that particular time, one gaidi ambaye ni sniper alipanda kwa orofa ya pili, vantage position, strategic position, anaangalia mandhari yote, anaangalia upande wote wa chuo kikuu cha Garissa na even across the wall. Akaona wanajeshi advancing plus police advancing. He fired at them pa 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 pa. Alafu alikuwa na grenade, kashika grenade akarusha. Kurusha pale, hiyo grenade ikalipuka. One KDF officer akakufa and 4 wakakuwa injured. So commanding officer akaona, unajua commanding officer alikuwa mwanajeshi sasa. Unajua when in an operation, the higher the security agency in that order, they takes command. So hapa ni mwanajeshi ndiye alikuwa ametake, the commanding officer alikuwa kutoka Garissa military camp, yani kambi ya kijeshi ya Garissa. So akaona wanasemaga no retreat, no surrender, but sometimes unique situations call for unique response. Akasema we retreat, reassess and come up with a new strategy. So akarudisha wanajeshi na polisi ama hicho kikosi cha rescuers akawarudisha nyuma, waende wajipange upya. But at that particular time, Reke Squad, I told you, and the KDF Special Forces bado wako on standby mode. So those in charge of the security forces walikuwa wameassess, wamesema kwamba the situation probably walikuwa wamesema maybe 4 gunmen only. AP na wanajeshi will just handle. So ukisikia later the police service, actually that time the spokesperson alikuwa Mwenda Njoka alisema it takes time to assess and come up with response. For example, and then brief the National Security Council, Baraza la Kitaifa la Usalama. Then from there, scramble special forces. After scrambling special forces, take them to the airport and transport them to the action site. For example, transport them to Garissa, where the siege was undergoing. Remember, 700 students, wanafunzi 700 walikuwa wametekwa nyara na magaidi. Lakini bado wakuu wa kiusalama walikuwa wanawaza na bado hawajakubaliana kutuma Reke Squad ama kikosi cha Reke pamoja na KDF Special Forces, yani wanajeshi mahususi, wale ambao wametrainiwa specially kupambana katika maeneo kama hayo na katika visa kama hivyo. Haya, wanafunzi wanaendelea kuumizwa, wanauliwa, na huku Nairobi bado wakuu wa ulinda usalama wangali wanatapatapa na kuwa watepetevu kazini. So as senior security officers were still mulling on the next step on and whether to unleash the KDF and police special forces. The commanding officer on the ground akaamua to re-strategize. Remember I told you he had retreated. Alikuwa amerudi akasema watu wanauliwa sana. Losing a KDF officer was that bad already. So akasema fast tutafute sniper yuko wapi. Number 1. Number 2, hawa magaidi wasipate nafasi ya kuponyoka. Lazima wamalizwe hapa ndani. Na kitu cha kwanza ni kuhakikisha kwamba hawa happy. Ensure that they do not leave or escape from the university. So he placed on every place that one can use to escape the university, aliweka polisi or mwanajeshi. Na si moja, at every place that looked like an escape route, akaweka mwanajeshi ama polisi. Stand by. Remember sniper yuko pale juu anatafuta tu whoever anatokelezea. Ukitoka pa. 8:30 AM. Yani saa 2:30 asubuhi. Now, news has spread. Almost every Kenyan and many people across the world now know that Garissa University College is under attack. 8:30 AM. Remember that time, Reke squad still on standby mode. In Nairobi, most news organizations, TV stations, newspapers are scrambling their teams looking for the best way and faster way of arriving in Garissa University. There are correspondents there, but these were extraordinary now situations. With the attack now, they needed bigger deployment from Nairobi. So I was working for NTV at that particular time. So I was a reporter at NTV. Our bosses, then Linus Kaikai, who was the managing editor, and our CEO, Linus Gitai, he decided that we must send 2 crews for NTV. I'm not talking about Daily Nation. You know, Daily Nation also sends their crew. But for NTV, I was sent, plus my cameraman, or the camera person that was assigned to me, and there was also Dennis Okari. Now, the deployment was as follows. Dennis Okari and Eric Kisinta was the camera person, walifly. Wakaambiwa waenda Wilson, but you know hakuna mandege, so walienda kupiga kambi kidogo. Sisi kwa gari, remember it's a Thursday, nimekuja ofisi na black suit. Black suit, ukiangalia hata hii picha ni hiyo, nimetoa suti, lakini unaona shati niko na ka checked shirt, black and white. Is it black? This is black and white or black and gray? But it was a checked shirt and a suit. I didn't have a tie, yes, so I had a black suit. Nikaambiwa hakuna kurudi nyumbani, no time to go and look for sijui manguo kuchange, utaenda utafute mbele ukisonganga. Ndiao. And you see, news is still coming in, more killings, more whatever. So tumeshika, unajua ni kwenda baka Garissa Road, blah blah blah. Sisi tumetoka, Reke squad wangali on standby mode. Unajua from Nairobi to Garissa by road is more than 5 hours. Si mahali unaenda hivi na hivi atundaka 1 hour, ni mbali. 5 hours, wendo upite Thika, wendo upite Mwingi, ukipita Mwingi upite Okash, upite Okash wendo ufike Madogo, that is Tana River, upite Tana River ndio sasa uingie. Ukifika Madogo unajua bus umefika. At that particular time, you remember we had just suffered another serious situation of hostage. It was during the Westgate attack. So the tactics or the delay in tactics or sending special forces, the same way it happened at Westgate, was now playing again. kwa hii ya Garissa. Lakini sisi tumeenda fire because we have to fika huko and start now reporting on what was really happening. We had a correspondent on the ground, but remember he was just a camera person. He wasn't reporting. So the urgency there was either me or Okari, whoever reaches there first. Okari would have been faster. Yes, he did eventually was fast on the ground because, you know, flying is about 1 hour, 20 minutes. 1 hour, 20 minutes there about you land at Garissa airstrip. So sisi ni hao na barabara. Fire. The commanding officer now, in his new strategies, decided that, you know what, we have to go in. Not in the building, but at least in the university. And you know, there is a wall, perimeter wall around the university. So the only way of going in, akaamua tunatumia what we call armored personnel vehicles. Gonga hiyo wall. Hiyo vitu ni mzito bana. Hiyo vitu ni chuma. Gonga poop ndani. Sasa ukiwa ndani pale, the first thing, because now they have realized this is a hostage situation. So the first thing is anza kutoa wale ambao hawajatekwa nyara. You know, students walikuwa wengi sana at the university. So kwanza kutoa safely, because remember there is a sniper. So kazi ni kuhakikisha wanatoka. You can see these pictures, making sure that they get out. Now, this is what changed the game completely. This is what made now top security officers wakajua we are dealing with a very extraordinary situation. Students who came out wakaanza explain what they saw. Waliona baadhi ya magaidi or all the magaidis walikuwa wamejifunga explosives. Sasa the top security officers wakajua this is not just a hostage situation. This is a suicide mission. Wamekuja pale kukufa, lakini wakufe na watu wengi. So hapo ndio wakajua kwamba hapa the efforts we are putting in will not yield much. Because now the terrorists were killing students at will. Wamewashika mateka. Moja, unaona wakisonga. At this particular time, over 100 students were already dead, killed by the gunmen. Over 100. And remember, I told you 3 security personnel, 1 police officer, no, now 4, it's not 3. 1 KDF officer, 1 police officer, and 2 security guards were already dead. So they were among the over 100 people who had already been killed at that time, around between 8:30 and 11. 11. Sisi tuko wapi? Calculate 2 hours since we left Nairobi. Is it 2 hours? Yes. Tumesonga sana. Actually, we were past Mwingi. Is when now the top security officers in the country decided now to activate the Reke Squad mission. Activated around 11. Now, ukifikiria in your mind, ongeza 5 hours. So what they thought is, let's go by air. But now, you see, the Reke Squad were carrying a lot of equipment, machine. So wakaamua 2 deployments. The core team ingie kwa ndege. 1 hour, 20 minutes, Garissa. The second team, iende by road. 12:30, the core team now leaves. Wapi? Leaves Wilson Airport. Hao wengine wako kwa barabara wananyorosha. Yes, ni magari yanakimbia. But remember, it's 5 hours. Na kwa hiyo barabara kuna magari mengine. As much as it's a security, wataweka alarm. Kingora. Headed to Garissa. Sisi tuko mbele. How many hours now? 9 to 12. Sisi tuko tunakaribia Garissa. Ndio jamaa sasa wanatoka Wilson Airport. Around 1, sasa ndio kikosi, the core team of Reke Squad wanatua Garissa. Around 1 something. Wanatua Garissa airstrip. Now, to leave Garissa airstrip, lazima waingie kwa magari, waende pale Garissa University College to be briefed by the commanding officer. But you know why? You know one thing? Hawawezi ingia. The equipment bado yuko kwa barabara. Nakuja mos. Hawa wamefika, been briefed about the situation. Probably they've drawn a plan, nini. But since the other team is still on the road, they could not launch the final assault. Huko ndani bado maneno yanachemka. And students were coming out still telling the horror story. Still telling what they went through, the traumatic experience they went through in the hands of terrorists. The gunshots, the gunfires. And remember, the sniper bado yuko pale. I remember sisi tumesha tour. Tumefika Garissa. Our first stop was at the level 5 hospital. Garissa level 5 hospital tumeenda kuangalia. Pale ndio sasa tukienda, ambulances zinakuja, wale walikuwa wamejeruhiwa being rushed to the hospital. It was just about rescue operation. Army officers, left, right, center, trying to look for a way they can save many of the students who are still trapped inside. So some of the stories that were coming out of Garissa University were really horrific. Yeah? Playing dead in such a situation. Hata haujui what next. Hujui kama atakushoot, nini. Many stories were coming in. Some of the stories that came about, unakumbuka kuna jamaa, story ilikuja kwamba kuna jamaa sijui kama ndiye alikuwa one of the student leaders, was big bodied. Aliona one of the terrorists just walking kwa alley, anatembea, alafu there were 3. So yeye pamoja na his friends wakasema twende to grab huyu jamaa kwa peke yake. So the guy went because he was big bodied, and alienda wa kwanza akashika jamaa by the shingo. So mshika, yeah, the way you see in movies, my friend. Akamshika kabisa. But now his friends were wakatoroka rather than helping. So the guy was left in the mercy of an armed terrorist. He was eventually killed. So horrific stories were coming in from the university. Haya, tunangoja sisi bado wale wanakuja kwa barabara. Tuko pale tuna report, songa pale. Let me tell you, it was so horrific. Some of the pictures we saw, you know, as journalists we see a lot, we publish kidogo. People had been shot, gunshot wounds. Yani mtu amepigwa, wengine wamepigwa, let me not describe, but the way walikuwa wamepigwa was so horrific. You could only look at them and tell the horror they went through in the hands of terrorists. It was so bad. It was really bad.
Just a gunshot. Some are there with more than one gunshot. Others are from legs. Others they are headshots. So they were just shooting at random mostly.
At around 5, ndio sasa timu ya barabara inakuja. Mefika. Wakaland. 1 hour briefing. 1 hour some few minutes briefing, strategizing, asking how they can go in, what were the issue. So hivi ndio sasa Reke Squad now wako in charge. You know, they are the special forces that I told you about, the technique called close quarter battle. Yani in tight spaces. Hawa jamaa wanajua kumanuva. Check your training yao. Vile wanaona hapo kwa picha. Check your training. Wanajua kumanuva blah 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 blah, wameingia in out, and within a short time wamemaliza. Their whole number one priority is about saving lives. And I didn't tell you that. By the time now, when they realize this is a suicide mission and it's a hostage situation, now you're combining suicide plus hostage. You need now special forces. You need people like Wrecking Squad who know their priority is first isolate the terrorists. Yani isolate, watenge na, so that we remove the line of danger on the hostages. And then, second, you are saving the hostage. So, in all the scenarios, the first priority is to save the first priority is to reach to the target, which are terrorists, with minimum casualties. Yani, casualties to the hostages and casualties to your men as the commanding officer. Now, the commanding officer in this case was Bernard Tonui. Bernard Tonui, who was now in charge of the Wrecking Squad operation. Jamaa akakaa chini na hiyo nini, jamaa alikuwa mnoma sana. Akakaa chini, akaangalia situation, vile amebriefiwa na the KDF commanding officer, who was mwenye alikuwa in charge kuanzia asubuhi mpaka hiyo time. Amebriefiwa how nini may happen, what the situation is. Najua akachora plan. Plan ilikuwa hivi. At a vintage position, akaweka KDF Special Force sniper. Sniper wa KDF Special Force alikuwa na kazi moja tu. Jamaa alikuwa na kazi mingi. Moja tu. Atafuta sniper mwenzake wa hiyo opposite side. Na ule sniper wa kigaidi. Kazi yake ni hiyo. Find him, take him out. That was his biggest role. But you see, nilikuwa nimesahau kuna karol kengine. Piga pale. So engage the sniper. As you take him out, you engage him. So now this gives time for Wrecking Squad just walk in. Ingia pole pole. Na unajua ni situation, yani ni tete. Kwa Kiluya wanazemanga tete. Tete ni kutembelea vidole. Because at that particular time, any noise is dangerous. So ufikie hawa jamaa bila hao kujua. So first una engage. So sniper ule na huyo alikuwa mnoma. Ule wa KDF alikuwa mnoma. Risasi moja on target. Pa! Tera ule sniper dead. Wajamaa washaingia. Wako mle ndani. So terrorists were holding the students on the first floor of Elgon Hostel. Wako pale Elgon Hostel. Ili unaona hii hapa. Wako pale first floor. So, si unajua huyo jamaa wa KDF asha nyorosha huyo jamaa dead. Jamaa wakaingia pole pole. Unajua sisi tuko kwa perimeter. Tuko pale kwa gate, unajua. One, sisi haturuhusiwi anywhere beyond the gate. Kazi yetu pale ni kupiga picha nini wakitoka ambulance na wanajeshi wakiingia na nini na Wrecking Squad unajua hawakuingia kwa gate, waliingilia sasa mahali penye nikuambia kwamba there was armored personnel vehicle ilipasua wall. So huko ndio ilikuwa entry. Sniper ametinguliwa, wa jamaa wameingia. Sasa ni kutafuta first floor. Pole pole. Pole pole. Any noise detrimental. Kufika first floor. Ta. 2 terrorists down. Wamebaki wangapi? Unajua hiyo ni 6:30. Hao jamaa waliingia 6:30. Let me tell you that. Waliingia 6:30. So hapo madakika tu hapo washafika pale ndani. Materrorist 3 washaanguka. 1 ameangushwa na special forces, 2 wameangushwa na Wrecking Squad hapa. So wamebaki mmoja. Huyo mmoja ndio alikuwa sasa ndio like kwa in charge wa hiyo attack from the Al-Shabaab group. So akaona ako cornered. Huyo jamaa akaona hapa stoki. Yes, hatutoki, lakini hata ni yetu haikuwa kutoka. Lakini huyo jamaa anakuja ni nani? Bernard Tonui. Anasonga. Ameman kabisa. Huyo jamaa kaona no corners, no whatever, hata kama ni fight hapa nimetamalizwa. Huyo jamaa amejipanga vizuri. So akafly. Karukia Bernard. Kirukia Bernard trigger explosive. Bah! All of them were dead. That is the only Reke Squad officer who died in the attack. It was a sad moment, but a brave moment. Our special forces, both KDF Special Forces and Reke Squad, did a marvelous job. Remember, waliingia 6:30. 7, Joseph Oleng Kaiseri, the late Joseph Oleng Kaiseri, then Minister for Interior, akatoka kasema, it is finished. The siege is over.
We have been able to confirm that 4 terrorists have been killed.
In 30 minutes, Reke Squad walikuwa shamalizana na kazi. I don't want to be the judge. And I've never wanted to be the judge. But one thing I know about the attack, we could have minimized the casualties or the people who died had we deployed the Reke Squad at that time. King'ora ililia. Now, as I wind up, nimekwambia kwamba Kaiseri ndiye ali-announce. Kaiseri hakukuja hiyo time. Kaiseri alifika Garissa mapema na alipelekwa na chopper. That is why some people, some critics at that time were asking, where was the priority? Why was the chopper given to Kaiseri before the deployment of people who would have ended the siege very early? And why was the Reke Squad released from the camp later when things had already, or harm had already done to a bigger scale? At the end of it, we lost 148 people in the attack. May their soul rest in peace. But again, our special forces are well equipped. To handle such issues. That is what I learned. But remember, huko Garissa mambo yamechemuka bwana. Mambo yamechemuka. Kaiseri hakusema tu siege imeisha. Akasema, mnasemangaje? Dusk to dawn. Yani jioni hadi asubuhi. Saa 12 jioni hadi saa 12 asubuhi mtu asipatikane nje. Tunaitanga curfew. Akaweka curfew. Everything ilikuwa imestop. Remember, the terror attack had already stopped everything. So kila kitu. Na sisi kama wanahabari hatuendi siku moja. Investigations pia zikiendelea, tunaendelea tu, tunakaa huko. My friend, hiyo siku ya kwanza, unajua tukifika, hatukufikiria, not even kufikiria, we didn't have time or whatever to think, mtalala wapi, mtakula nini. So Kaiseri naye amesema curfew. Unajua story hamumalizi immediately. Kuna kufanya story ya the day, then kufanya live. Unaona hata mapicha tumepiga usiku hapa. Hizi mapicha tulikuwa tunapiga, tulikuwa hatuna, tumbo ilikuwa kavu. But because we were so many journalists from different media organizations, tunajibembeleza hapo, tunapiga story. Sasa tukatafuta place into DRC huko ndio tulikuwa tunalala. Lakini one thing, now we developed, because we stayed there for like almost almost a week, gathering information, following investigations, how the terror attack happened. Like, one thing, how did it happen, and why who was culpable? Yeah, because at the end of the day, someone slept on the job. Intelligence were already out there that an institution of higher learning that was in the danger, that the Al-Shabaab terror group was targeting an institution of higher learning. And I don't know if the intelligence did not narrow down, but when you look at it, you start assessing which are the institutions that are at high risk. I don't know why the Garissa University was not placed on red alert. Not just alert, but red alert. So at the end of it all, we lost 148 people. and we were staying there. Life was difficult. Let me tell you, tulikuwa nakula meal moja. Asubuhi, ukikula asubuhi, tunatafuta tulikuwa nakula chapati. Remember unakula kukula. Si chai peke yake. Unaweka chai, chapati, na mtu unapata ameweka mandondo na kitu kama kabifu. My friend, unajua ukichapa hiyo maybe utapata opportunity nyingine because unaenda story. By the time unamaliza story 9:30, hakuna curfew ilishaingia. Hakuna hoteli, there's nothing, so you cannot eat. Kwa narudi mausiku, ndio unatafuta. The only thing we made sure that we have a hotel. Tulikuwa na place into a DRC. So huko ndio tulikuwa tunalala, tuna make sure kwamba tumebook for the next day. For the next day unabook kabla utoke. For that night, next night unabook asubuhi. Na una make sure umekula pale town unakula ukienda. But you see, investigations revealed a lot. First, it revealed that it was done by Al-Shabaab members who are of Somali origin and who are born and raised in Kenya. Some of them were degree holders. Some of them were learned, a good number of them were learned. But they went to Somalia and wakapewa mafunzo ya itikadi kali na kila kitu, and they came and messed up. So this is just part 1. We have part 2 that will come to you next. So remain tuned or stay tuned. This is the Kenyan Historian, and my name is Enoch Sikolia.